You walk through your front door at the end of the day. On the counter beside your keys sits the mail you brought in yesterday, the receipts from this morning, the jacket that never made it to the closet, a water glass from lunch, the bag you set down just long enough to answer a text and then forgot. You turn to make dinner, and the counter is full before you have even started cooking. You tell yourself you will deal with it later. And later becomes Saturday morning, and Saturday morning becomes 3 hours you did not plan to spend scrubbing and sorting through a week's worth of things that could have been put away the moment you set them down. I have lived in the same small house in Kanazawa for 50 years. I learned the hard way that a house left to itself at the end of the day becomes heavy by the weekend. But I also learned that 10 minutes every evening, surfaces cleared, everything returned to where it lives, keeps the weight from settling at all. You are not cleaning, you are resetting. And a reset is not a chore, it is a rhythm that stops the mess before it forms. An object without a designated place wanders, and when it wanders, it multiplies. The pair of scissors moves from the kitchen drawer to the coffee table. The next time you need scissors, you cannot find them, so you buy another pair. Now there are 2 pairs, neither in the drawer, both somewhere in the rooms you pass through daily. If something does not have a home, it becomes the problem. My name is Keiko Tanaka. I am 78 years old. I have lived in this house for 50 years, and it took me most of those years to understand that the order I wanted did not come from effort. It came from deciding once where a thing belonged, and then never deciding again. The keys hang on a small hook by the door. Not on the counter, not in your pocket. On the hook. The mail goes into a single woven basket the moment you bring it inside. The remote control for the television sits on a wooden tray on the low table. When you are finished using it, it returns to the tray. You do not think about where it goes. It goes to the same place it has always gone. The genkan is the heart of this. In a Japanese home, the entryway is not decoration. It is the boundary between the disorder of the world outside and the calm you are trying to keep inside. Your shoes are aligned on the step, toes out, ready for the morning. Your bag is emptied every evening. The keys, the wallet, the receipts, the things that accumulate in pockets and purses, they are sorted and returned to their places before you walk deeper into the house. The genkan holds the chaos, so the rest of the house does not have to. When every object has a place, you stop making decisions about where it should go. Decision fatigue vanishes. You do not stand in the kitchen holding your keys, wondering where to set them down. You hang them on the hook because that is where they live. The mind grows quiet when the hands know what to do without thinking. If a task takes 2 minutes or less, do it the moment you see it needs doing, not later, not when you have more time. Now, this is the rule that keeps the reset from becoming an emergency. You take off your coat when you come inside. Hang it on the hook as you take it off. Do not drape it over the chair. The coat goes on the hook while your hand is still holding it. 2 seconds. The table needs wiping after the meal. Wipe the table before you walk to the sink. 30 seconds. The coffee cup sits on the counter with a ring of dried milk at the bottom. Rinse it now while you are filling the kettle. 10 seconds. The stain that sets becomes the stain you scrub tomorrow. Wori moni, winuf umbin. Nis slowly. For years I told myself I would tidy later, after I rested, after I finished one more task. And those 2-minute tasks stacked into an hour of work I did not want to do. 10 things left undone do not stay 10 things. They become a weight that presses on you every time you walk past the counter and see the clutter building, the sound of a plate being rinsed under warm water, the way your hand moves across the table with the cloth, and the wood grain appears clean underneath. The feeling of a counter with nothing on it when you set your tea down at the end of the day. These are not small pleasures. They are the proof that the work was done when it was light, before it became heavy. Japanese homes do not set aside time to clean. They clean at the moments when cleaning is already half done, after the bath, after the meal, before bed. These are the transitions, the small hinges of the day, and if you learn to wipe and straighten as you pass through them, the work never builds into something you have to set aside an hour to face. The shower wipe down happens while you are still standing in the bathroom, your skin still damp, the walls still warm. You keep a squeegee hanging on a hook inside the shower. Before you step out, you pull it down the glass door in 3 strokes. Then the tiles. The water beads and runs to the drain. The soap that would harden into film by morning slides away while it is still soft. 30 seconds. The squeegee is already in your hand. The next morning the glass is clear and you do not have to scrub anything. The table reset happens while the dishes are still in your hands. You finish eating, you stand, you carry your plate to the sink. On the way back, you wipe the table with the cloth you keep folded beside the sink. The crumbs, the water rings, the small spills that will stick if you leave them overnight. They come up with one pass of the cloth. 15 seconds. The bedroom reset happens before you turn out the light. You fold the throw blanket that slid to the floor while you are reading. You return the book to the shelf. You close the drawer you opened to find your glasses this morning and left open because you are in a hurry. The room is ready for sleep, and tomorrow morning when you wake, the space is calm. These transitions work because the action is already happening. You are already in the bathroom. You are already carrying dishes. You are already walking to the bed. The tools are in your hand or within reach. You are not interrupting your day to clean. You are cleaning as you live, in the moments when it costs you almost nothing to do so. Every evening at the same time, you walk through the main rooms of your home. 10 minutes. No more. This is not cleaning. It is a reset, and if you do it each night, the weekend never becomes the emergency you are trying to avoid. Start in the kitchen. The counters are cleared, not scrubbed, not reorganized, cleared. The cutting board goes back in the drawer. The dish towel is folded and hung. The salt and pepper return to their spot beside the stove. If you cooked, the pans are already washed because you washed them at the transition while the water was still hot. What remains is only what needs to be returned. 2 minutes, maybe 3. Move to the living room. The cushions on the sofa are straightened. The blanket you used while reading is folded and draped over the arm of the chair. The remote goes back on its tray. The book returns to the shelf. The cup you set on the side table is carried to the kitchen. You are not hunting for disorder. You are simply returning what wandered during the day. Another 2 minutes. Walk to the Genkan. Your shoes are aligned on the step, toes facing out, ready for morning. Your bag is unpacked. The receipts, the keys, the things that collect in pockets, they are sorted and put in their places. Tomorrow's bag is packed and set by the door. The coat you wore today is hung. The entryway is reset. 1 minute, maybe less, if you have been doing this all week. The 10 minutes are not about perfection. They are about returning the house to order so that when you wake tomorrow, the day does not begin with yesterday's disorder still sitting on the counter. You are not cleaning up after yourself. You are preparing the house for the next morning, the way you would set out clothes or fill the kettle before bed. It is a gift you give to the person you will be when the sun comes up. This rhythm only works if the things you are putting away have a place to return to. And if your drawers and closets are full, if every shelf is packed tight, if there is no room for one more item without forcing it in and jamming the rest, then the reset becomes a battle instead of a rhythm. Keep your drawers and closets to 80% capacity, not completely full, not stuffed. When you open a drawer and slide something inside, it should go in easily. You should not have to shift 3 other things to make room. When you hang a coat in the closet, the hanger should slide along the rod without catching on the coat beside it. The space should feel generous, not tight. This is not about having less. It is about leaving room for the things you actually use to move freely. A drawer that is crammed closed does not serve you. You stop putting things away in it because the act of putting things away becomes work. And when putting things away feels like work, you start setting things on the counter instead, and the counter fills, and the reset breaks, and by the weekend you are sorting through piles again. I keep my kitchen drawers at about 80% capacity. There is always room for the wooden spoon when I finish stirring the pot. There is always room for the dish towel when I am done drying the cups. I do not have to rearrange anything to make space. The drawer opens, the item goes in, the drawer closes. The resistance is so low, I do not think about it. And because I do not think about it, I do it every time. If your storage is full, the reset becomes another chore you avoid. If your storage has breathing room, the reset becomes as easy as setting a cup back on its shelf. You are not forcing order onto chaos. You are allowing order to settle because there is space for it to settle into. The mistake people make when they begin this rhythm is this. You try to deep clean during the reset. You start straightening the living room and notice the baseboards need dusting. So you get the cloth and kneel down and start wiping along the floor. Then you see a smudge on the window and you stop to clean the glass. 20 minutes have passed and you are still in one room, scrubbing instead of resetting, and the 10 minutes you promised yourself have become an exhausting project you did not plan to start. The reset is not about making things perfect. It is about returning things to order. The book goes back on the shelf. The cup goes back to the kitchen. The shoes are aligned. That is the reset. The baseboards can wait. The window can wait. If you stop to scrub every surface you pass, the reset becomes the very thing it was meant to prevent, a long, tiring chore that you will start avoiding by Wednesday. There is a difference between the daily reset and the deeper care. The reset is 10 minutes every evening, surfaces and placement. You are tidying, not cleaning. The deeper care happens once a season, maybe twice. That is when you take the hour to dust the baseboards and wash the windows and wipe down the shelves. That work is slower. It is intentional. It is not the same work as the reset. And if you try to do both at once, you will do neither well. I have watched people begin the reset with energy and discipline, and by the 3rd day they are scrubbing grout in the bathroom instead of wiping the counter, and by the 5th day they have stopped doing it at all because it feels like too much. They were doing too much. The reset is not an invitation to fix everything you see. It is permission to do less and have it work better. The bathroom wipe happens while you are still standing there, while the water is still beaded on the glass, while the air is still warm and damp from the shower you just took. You keep a squeegee hanging on a hook inside the shower. Before you step out onto the mat, you pull it down the glass door in 3 long strokes. The water runs to the drain in sheets, then the tiles on the wall, 2 more strokes. The soap that would harden into film by tomorrow morning slides away while it is still soft. 30 seconds. The next morning when you walk into the bathroom, the glass is clear. You do not have to scrub anything because nothing ever dried. The sink wipe happens after you wash your hands. You rinse your hands, and while they are still wet, you wipe the edge of the sink with your fingers. The water that splashed onto the counter, the small soap residue around the base of the dispenser, it comes up with one pass of your damp hand. You dry your hands on the towel hanging beside the mirror. Before you leave, you fold the corner of the towel so it hangs straight. 5 seconds. The mirror wipe happens after you brush your teeth. You spit into the sink, rinse your mouth, and before you put the toothbrush back in its holder, you take the hand towel and wipe the small spots of toothpaste mist from the mirror. One pass. The glass stays clear. 10 seconds. You were already standing there. The towel was already in reach. This is why Japanese bathrooms stay so clean, not because of weekly scrubbing sessions or expensive cleaning products, because water and soap never dry into film. You remove them while they are still wet in the moment after you made them, with tools that are already in your hand. The work is so small, you barely feel it happening, but the bathroom stays light, the surfaces shine. You walk in, and the room feels calm, not neglected, because you have been tending it every single day without thinking of it as tending. I learned this in my 40s. For years, I cleaned the bathroom every Saturday. I would scrub the soap scum from the shower walls with a sponge and a bottle of cleaner, working at the buildup that had hardened over the week. My back hurt, my hands smelled like chemicals, and by Wednesday the film was already starting again. I was cleaning too late and too hard. I was trying to undo a week of neglect in one exhausting session, when I could have been preventing the neglect from forming at all. Now I wipe after every use. The work takes less time in a month than it used to take me in one Saturday morning. And the bathroom is never dirty, not because I clean more, because I clean at the moment when cleaning costs me almost nothing. The evening before holds the shape of the morning that follows. Tomorrow's clothes are already chosen and set out on the chair beside your bed, not picked in the rushed minutes after the alarm, but folded and placed the night before when your mind was still calm. The shirt, the trousers, the socks folded on top. You do not have to think when you wake. You simply dress in what you already decided. Your bag is packed and sitting by the door in the genkan. The wallet, the keys already on their hook, the notebook or the shopping list, whatever tomorrow requires. You put them in the bag tonight, when you are still moving through the house, when your hands are still steady, and your thoughts are still clear. In the morning, you simply pick up the bag and walk out. There is no frantic search. The breakfast items are staged on the counter. The kettle is filled with water and sitting on the stove. The cup is beside it. The tea tin is open. The bowl and the spoon are set out if you are eating something that requires them. You are not cooking from scratch at dawn. You are simply heating water and pouring it into a cup that is already waiting. This is the principle of the genkan carried forward into time. The entryway holds what you will carry out the next day, ready to go, so you do not have to gather it in the moment you are leaving. The kitchen holds what you will use the next morning, arranged and waiting, so you do not have to assemble it while you are still half asleep. I do this every evening. After the 10-minute reset, after the rooms are returned to order, I walk once more through the house, and I set out tomorrow. It takes 3 minutes, maybe 4. I choose the clothes and fold them on the chair. I pack the bag and set it by the door. I fill the kettle and place the cup beside the stove, and when I wake, the day does not begin with decisions. It begins with a series of small automatic motions that I do not have to think about because I thought about them the night before. The morning that begins the night before is a morning without hunting. You do not hunt for your keys. You do not hunt for a clean shirt. You do not stand in the kitchen trying to remember where you put the tea or whether there is milk in the refrigerator. You know these things already because you check them and arrange them when checking and arranging cost you almost nothing. The night before is generous with time. The morning is not. This is the gift you give to your morning self. Not convenience, though it is convenient. Not speed, though you will move faster. The gift is calm. You wake, and the house is already cooperating with you. The things you need are where you will need them. The decisions are already made. I have lived long enough to know that how a day begins shapes how a day feels. A morning that starts in chaos, that starts with searching and deciding and fixing what should have been fixed the night before. That morning carries a weight that does not lift even when the chaos is resolved. But a morning that begins in calm, that begins with everything already in its place and your hands moving without thought, that morning gives you a foundation the rest of the day can rest on. This is not about saving minutes. It is about protecting your peace. The evening prep is not a chore. It is an act of care for the person you will be when the sun rises. The week you get sick, the rhythm breaks. You do not wipe the shower because standing upright is already more than you can manage. The evening reset does not happen because you go to bed at 7 and sleep through the hours when you would have walked the rooms. The mail piles on the counter. The dishes sit in the sink. By the time you are well enough to notice, the house feels heavy again, and you look at the disorder and think you have failed. You have not failed. You paused, and a pause is not a collapse if you know how to return. Do not try to catch up in one exhausting session. Do not look at the week of disorder and decide you will fix all of it Saturday morning in 3 hours of frantic cleaning. That is the trap that turns a broken rhythm into a reason to quit entirely. Return to the 10-minute rhythm and let it build the order back slowly. Tonight, the evening reset. 10 minutes. Counters cleared, shoes aligned, tomorrow's bag packed. Do not touch the laundry yet. Do not reorganize the closet. Just reset the surfaces the way you did before the illness or the travel or the week that pulled you away. Tomorrow night, the same. 10 minutes. By the third evening, the house will feel lighter. By the fifth, the rhythm will be holding again. I learned this the year my husband was ill. For 2 months, I did not reset the house. I sat beside his bed. I cooked what he could eat, and I carried it to him, and I did not think about the counters or the gencon or whether the bathroom had been wiped. When he was well again, I stood in the kitchen and looked at the weight that had settled in those weeks, and I wanted to fix it all at once. I tried. I spent a Saturday sorting and scrubbing, and by evening I was so tired I could not make dinner. I sat on the floor and I cried, not because the house was still disordered, but because I had made it into a punishment. I had turned a return into another emergency, another thing I was failing at, when all I needed to do was begin again with the small rhythm I already knew. The next evening I reset for 10 minutes. Just the counters, just the shoes. The next evening, the same. By the end of the week, the house was breathing again, not because I had worked harder, but because I had worked steadily without trying to undo 2 months in 2 days. Perfection is not the goal. One missed evening does not undo the system. The rhythm is not fragile. It is patient. It will wait for you. And when you return to it, it will hold you the way it held you before, if you let it. If you do not demand that it fix everything at once. If you simply start again with the 10 minutes and trust that the 10 minutes will be enough. This is Denzara, the practice of refusing what you do not need, discarding what weighs you down, and detaching from the idea that you must carry everything perfectly or you are failing. The rhythm I am teaching you is Denzara. You are letting go of the belief that order requires heroic effort. You are discarding the weight of guilt when the rhythm pauses. You are detaching from perfection and learning that care given gently, over time, is stronger than force applied once in desperation. Of course, the ambutitawindahan. The reset protects your attention. It protects your ability to sit in your own home without the hum of undone tasks pressing against the back of your mind. You cannot be present in a room that is asking you to fix it. The clutter on the counter is not just clutter. It is a voice whispering that you have left something undone. The shoes scattered in the genkan are not just shoes. They are a small weight on your thoughts every time you walk past them. The disorder is not only physical, it is mental. And when you clear the surfaces and return the objects to their places, you are not tidying. You are giving yourself back the quiet that the disorder took from you. A house in order is not about appearances. It is not about what a guest might see when they walk through your door. It is about the quiet mind that comes from knowing where things are and that they will stay that way. When you wake and the counters are clear, when you walk to the genkan and your bag is already packed, when you open a drawer and the thing you need is exactly where you left it, your mind does not have to carry the house is carrying itself. And the space that opens inside you, the space that was holding all those small worries about what you forgot to do and where you set something down, that space becomes available for other things, for rest, for thought, for the people you love, for the life you are actually living, instead of the maintenance you are always catching up on. I spent years carrying the house in my mind. Even when I was sitting, even when I was reading or drinking tea, I was thinking about the drawer that needed sorting, or the counter that needed wiping, or the laundry that had been sitting in the basket for 3 days. I was never fully where I was, because part of me was always standing in the room I had just left, looking at the task I had not done. The house was always asking me for something, and I was always tired, not from the work, but from the weight of knowing the work was waiting. The reset changed that, not because it made the house perfect, because it made the house settled. When I walk through the rooms at the end of the day and return everything to its place, I am not just tidying, I am closing the day. I am telling the house and myself that the work is done, that tomorrow is tomorrow, and tonight I can sit without carrying anything. The counters are clear, the shoes are aligned, the bathroom is wiped, and my mind for the first time in years is quiet. This is what the reset protects. Not your floors, not your reputation, your peace, the ability to be in your home without the home demanding something from you, the ability to sit and know that when you stand, nothing will be waiting that you left undone. This is not a small thing. This is the reason I teach this rhythm to anyone who will listen, because I know what it feels like to be tired from disorder, and I know what it feels like to be free of it. And the freedom is not expensive. It is not hard. It is 10 minutes every evening, and the willingness to act in the moment when a task is still light. Which room in your home will you begin with tonight? Not all of them, not a whole house overhaul, just one room, the kitchen maybe, or the genkan. One room where you will clear the surfaces and return what has wandered, and then stop. That is enough. Tomorrow, the same room, and the next night, and by the end of the week, that room will be holding its order, and you will see that it is possible. And when you see that it is possible, you will know that the rest of the house can follow, one room at a time, one evening at a time, without strain. The next step, the one that makes the reset easier, is learning to create the places themselves. The hooks for the keys, the basket for the mail, the drawer that holds only the things it should hold and nothing else. That is the natural next step after today. It is what gives the reset something to return to, and I will show you how to build those places so they serve you, not the other way around. The people who built this country with their hands knew things we are only just starting to remember. They knew that care given daily is lighter than rescue attempted once a month. They knew that a house does not stay in order by accident, but by small rhythms kept faithfully, without drama, without exhaustion. They knew that the reset is not a chore. It is a kindness you give to the morning that is coming, and to the life you are trying to live inside the walls you call home.